as we were looking at those images on the front of the grid, Lowndes 298 behind. That's going to be an interesting story this weekend to see whether he can claw back some of that margin. James Moffat on board with him in the Norton DJR Ford Falcon. This is Jacques Villeneuve driving again for Pepsi this weekend. Great to have him in the series. Formula One world champion of 1997 and a former Indy 500 winner and the IndyCar Series champion. These guys have turned it around this weekend. This time last year, Ford Performance Racing had one of the all-time bomb weekends, and Tim Edwards said, come away from that meeting, I put a little note in my diary, we're not going to go through that again, and they've worked hard to fix it. It looks as though they've got on top of their woes.
And you can see the breathing there. I think Mark Winterbottom certainly knows the pressure of this start. He and Lowndes on the inside of the road, and the point that Craig made about being on the inside, away from the racing line, means it's dirtier. It's a dirtier start position for them. The clean spot is Jamie Whincup as he lights up the Team Vodafone Commodore to make a very, very important start here. This start to the first corner will be as intense as you'll ever see.
He's on the outside, but he does have the clean line.
That's right,
There might be some gain there. Will Davison, sitting in the FPR Ford, fires it up. Snapshot of who's done well here in the past. Lowndes, 9 race wins over the years. Garth Tander, 5, but he's a bit buried in the pack. Russell Ingall and James Courtney, 3 wins each. Mark Winterbottom with a couple of wins. Stevie Johnson a win. Jamie Whincup a win. Will Davison a win. And as we've said before, Lowndes very strong here last year. Tim Slade as well. Very, very impressive. James Moffat, who we had a glimpse of on board before, he did a ripper job in the final race on the Sunday.
And let's have a look at our Fuso grid, because the front row of the grid, as we said, with Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup, will be a very interesting battle to the first corner. Teammates. And as I said, as wild as it gets, because they're in front of the guys that have done most of the winning this year, with all of the lead competitors in the top 4 or 5 cars. Winterbottom and Davison behind that. Fabian Coulthard, Shane van Gisbergen, young Dave Reynolds alongside the most experienced guy in the field, Russell Ingall. Best performance of the year for his qualifying. Ex-teammates Caruso and Holdsworth on positions 9 and 10.
Further down the order, Dean Fiore. And his 50th V8 Supercar event this weekend. Congratulations, Dean. Tony D'Alberto spoke about him before. James Moffat, form here last year. Jason Bright had pretty raggy tyres on the car yesterday, looking much better today in 14th. Tim Slade, 27 yesterday, his 50th event start as well. There's Rick Kelly, Garth Tander. Next in the queue, Alex Premer and Steve Owen. Further back, James Courtney and Jono Webb. Their wives were in that WAGS Go-Kart Challenge earlier in the week. I would have loved to have seen that. Michael Patrizzi, Sergeant Transport on the car this weekend. Todd Kelly, Taz Douglas, I Select Holden Commodore. Carl Reindler in there as well. Jacques Villeneuve next from position number 27. And then the shout out earlier on to Des Wald. David's dad. Keyword there is fairness. The important thing is we often think, well, how did so-and-so jump up over the other guy? Well, that's often the reason. It's going to be eradicated.
This is on. I can't wait for this first corner, because 2 teams. Grid spots 1, 2 and 3, 4 with FPR and 888. The battle between Lowndes and Whincup.
Green flag. Bring him up to the rev limiters. About to unleash 28 V8 Supercars at Queensland Raceway for 45 laps. Go.
Oh, Lowndes, great start and a bad start for Whincup. He's lost 4 or 5 spots. Craig Lowndes was perfect.
Beautiful start for Lowndes. Frosty's on the inside. Will Davison's on the outside in 3rd at the moment. A disaster start for Whincup. Bogged, out wide and getting shuffled by the pack.
And he's still wide, Crompo, because he's on the outside now as Fabian Coulthard has a big slide. Just stays on the road.
So Whincup dragged it in the rocks there on the exit of turn 2 for a good 40 or 50 metres. Lowndes has got a monster margin.
Look at Ingall down the inside, 3 abreast. Great move, Russell Ingall, and he puts Dave Reynolds and Whincup wide. Rick Kelly right out in the boonies.
I didn't think Russell was going to be able to stop it then, but he pulled it up nicely. Gee, much of that margin that Lowndes had going into turn 3 has already disappeared as Mark Winterbottom ranges up. Trouble down at turn 4. James Moffat, Steve Owen. There are a couple of others involved in that, in the nose-to-tail incident as well. And Owen pointing the wrong way.
And Whincup returned the serve on Ingall. You'll just see that now. He dived down the inside at turn 4, and still the bumping duel continues. Dave Reynolds has just lost position after position based on that first lap. So Lowndes, great job on the first lap to do. the sort of start that you need to apply and win that battle. Oh, what happened there? It turned left weirdly then. Caruso, that was strange.
Must be something
don't
on the
park
road
there, Dave.
That was quite bizarre, wasn't it? So Reynolds struggled on the opening lap, and he's got damage there now. May not be able to actually move that thing. So here we go back in turn 3, and Lowndes just opened that margin slightly again over Winterbottom. Some impressive performances on cold tyres. Sergeant security entry there of Michael Patrizzi, and safety car boards will be displayed. Bring the field under control to try and resolve what's going on down there.
That was a wild first lap.
At turn 1.
Wasn't it? That was. Seriously, well, the piece of driving with Dave Reynolds and Whincup, and then the dive from Ingle at turn 3, and then the subsequent battling as Dave Reynolds come backwards, and then the bumping, and look, this is the bog, stopped. He almost turned the engine off, and Lowndes, conversely, did a really nice job. And this is where the hustle and bustle starts. So you're on board there. They're all in. This is going to be wild now because they'll put the soft tyre on, they'll take the punt.
There's something hanging off Courtney's car down there as well. He's picked up a bit of a sign, or
he's pulled the back door off.
Yeah, okay. So the door skin on James Courtney's car. There was a lot of mid-pack shuffling. There was a lot of push and shove going on with cold tyres.
Oh, just gets out in front of Davison. So both of those guys make a very bold move in championship stakes between Whincup and Will Davison. And they will push hard on this opening lap. Have a look at this. Watch the start. Lowndes was perfect, and engine almost out for Whincup.
He might have even actually dipped it.
Yeah.
Then had to use the auto start to get it rotating again. You see, actually, it was a full-blown sneeze, wasn't it? It was a disaster for Whincup. That replay angle really told the story. Now, this...
I don't get this. I don't get this, how it turns left. Watch this. That just turns left.
It's almost as though Michael Caruso was having his own thing, and meantime, David and Tony were involved in a separate... Let's wait and see whether this angle actually... This is the one that's got me boggled at the moment. Has he got a problem with the left rear tyre? Actually, as it bounced, there was a little bit of blue smoke coming off the left rear tyre on Michael's car.
It looked like it was sideways and it followed the front wheels. Sometimes you can have an effect where you've got the car caught and you're sideways, and then they flick the other way because they follow the direction of the front wheels. Lights are out. This is a big restart for Lowndes, and he's done a very good job with the jump on Mark Winterbottom, Fabian Coulthard, Shane Van Gisbergen and Russell Ingle. Ingle and Van Gisbergen were trading paint as we went to the safety car period. Ingle has made a very good start in this race.
Lowndes, Winterbottom, Coulthard. Then it's Van Gisbergen, Ingle, Holdsworth. Fabian's the one that's really done an outstanding job of just moving, marching through this field. This is Tander in the wars as well in pit lane. So we saw the door skin off James Courtney's car. Now a problem for Garth as well. And they're putting it on the go jacks and putting it in the bunker.
So disaster for HRT with the problems for Courtney with the left-hand rear door, and Tander with a problem. And this is always a drama spot, turn 5. To be able to get up far enough there and make that an effective pass is always difficult. The visibility for the lead car and the positioning of the car trying to make the overtaking manoeuvre. And the bumping continues with Webb and Steve Johnson. They were bumping at turn 5, they're bumping at turn 6, and they'll continue to play dodgem cars all the way down to turn 1.
And when all that goes on, the big problem is the amount of dust and dry grass and debris that they bring onto the racetrack just makes it very difficult for the guy that's following.
Just checked in at HRT, guys. Bent steering arm for Garth Tander from some contact, so no luck for the red team at the moment.
On board with Ingle up the inside here of Shane Van Gisbergen. This is for position, gets it done. Nice work, 4th for Rusty.
And that's a very experienced pass then, Neil. He only braked the car deep enough to get the pass made. He didn't run on, didn't make a mistake, didn't understeer wide and let Van Gisbergen back in the game. That was a really well put on pass. .135 kilometres an hour off turn 5 there. We've seen lots of drama at that spot over the years. There's only 2 left-hand corners on this circuit. And coming out of turn 6, Lowndes leads from Winterbottom, Coulthard, Ingle, Van Gisbergen, Holdsworth, Fiore, Tim Slade, Steve Johnson and Jonathan Webb. That's your top 10.
Incidentally, Reynolds is still in the pit lane there at the moment. This is Villeneuve with Bright. So he's back for more. Just terrible to waste the speed that car's got in it. It's been a tough start to race 16 for him. So Lowndes has now just opened up slightly. He's got half a second over Winterbottom.
And if you press the fast forward button from last year to now, the FPR cars were not competitive last year. Based on their performance here, you wouldn't have put them in the top 3 or 4 cars, but Winterbottom is hanging on to Lowndes. It's only 0.5 of a second, and he's not letting Lowndes go.
Another guy that's meandering up into this group and looking pretty strong at the moment is Dean Fiore. So he's 7th in this pack. Actually looks pretty strong. Tim Slade, Stephen Johnson, John Webb, that's the 10. Remember, there's a lot to play out strategically here. Some have pitted, some haven't. That shuffles the order. There's Dean. Jim Beam Racing Cars, new livery again this weekend. Back to the more traditional colours for these guys. 50th V8 Supercar event start for Dean.
He was the fastest of the DJR guys in qualifying. He did a really good job. And now in the race is pressing on with it. That's what you've got to do. You've got to capitalise, Croppo, at these sorts of events, don't you? Because your qualifying position is so important. And after a good qualifying, he's made the early laps look good because you can easily get caught up in all the drama that we saw.
Now, the first car in the queue that has stopped is Jamie Whincup. He's 11th, and he's also just done the fastest lap of the race. Meantime, his teammate, Craig Lowndes, is the race leader on the Coates Hire leaderboard. We're riding up into turn 4. We'll take a break. It's Lowndes over Winterbottom and Coulthard. So Lowndes now 0.9 of a second clear of Winterbottom. Coulthard's just 1.4 seconds off the lead of the race. And 27 of the cars are out there. Tander's car has been wheeled away, as you saw before. Johnson's car then, from the point of view of Jamie Whincup, who's now up the inside at turn 2. It's actually there. Very rarely do you sneak up the inside of somebody between those 2 corners, and now Tander's actually released from the lane with that problem resolved.
So Garth Tander, steering damage, and normally you put another steering rod that's already been measured in terms of its dimension, so you put that steering rod back on so that the toe, where the front direction of the wheels basically point, means that you can get the car back out there reasonably quickly. That would be something that would normally stop the car for the complete race. The guys are organised about changing those these days, and a good job to get that car back out there. You see the brake rotor on Jamie Whincup's car then lit right up in the braking area for turn 4.
I saw it down here before into 6. You can see it again a couple of laps earlier. It just gives you an idea of the brake pressures that the drivers bring on. And if it was really low light late in the day, you'd see that the glow stays. Very little time for it to recover in a couple of spots around here as well. Pretty tough on brakes at times. 1.1 seconds is now the gap, Lowndes to Winterbottom. So Craig just skipping away slightly. Did a 10.8 on the last lap. Winterbottom an 11.1. Coulthard also an 11.1, and just fractionally quicker than Russell Ingall on that last lap. Welcome back to Queensland Raceway. V8 Supercars on 7. The Mega Wall's got it covered on the track, in the pit lane, curb cams, all the action from race control, and of course all the onboard as well. That's where the action is at the moment with this man, Jamie Whincup. That's him passing Tim Slade at turn 4. He's driving very hard on the soft tyre. He's the first car in the queue that's actually made a stop, and he's the first car in the queue, therefore, that's on the soft tyre. Those in front of them are still on the hard tyre. One of the reasons why the brakes on this car we've seen at turn 3 and turn 6 just lighting up with brake pressure.
This is a pretty healthy battle with Webb, Douglas, Davison all pressing on there. And it'll be very interesting to see the strategy of this race to make an early call like Whincup and Davison have made to put the soft tyre on so early. Mark Larkham preempted how hard it is in the left-hand rear tyre. Look at the broken windscreen on the FPR car. Look at the stripe of the windscreen brake across from the top left-hand screen there. And that will be for dropping off on the curb on the way out of turn 2. That's exactly what happens, isn't it? You fall off the back of the curb and it just breaks the screen.
The other one that puts a real impact through the chassis, and you can often just feel it in the seat of the car, is when you clobber that curb at turn 5.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one that loosens the fillings in your head as well.
So the real strategy behind this again is what Larko said. What happens with tyre degradation? Can Jamie Whincup and Will Davison make these tyres live? Whincup is driving the car so hard at the start of this segment of the race. He's done the fastest lap of the race so far, and he's also now on his best lap after that. So he's continuing to press. He's got a good gap over Will Davison. So that's the race between those guys on that strategy. But Lowndes and Winterbottom, remember, will put the soft tyre on at some stage, and their speed will equate with Whincup's.
So you can see there's a group of guys here with the light illuminated in behind the windscreen that have got their soft tyre on. Whincup's using it, Davison's using it, Bright's using it on screen, Taz Douglas, Todd Kelly, Patrizzi, Courtney. Here we're looking at the back of Taz's car here.
Nice pass.
We're on board there with Will down the inside at turn 4, pretty easily done.
A bit of a bump there, the little isolate bump that was a little rub between turn 4 and turn 5. And with the resurfacing, Neil, when you look up here, have a look inside Whincup's car, have a look to your right. When you get to the braking area for turn 5, you use more, on the left of screen now, more of that little passage of road between the back straight across into turn 4. So there's actually a wider entry, a different line with the resurfacing than we're used to use.
Whincup's going to get down the inside of Fiore here into the final corner if the gap's still there. Yes, it is. So Dean doesn't really put up big resistance. He will see, or he's either heard on the radio or he'll see in the rearview mirror that Jamie's got the soft tyre on. So Holdsworth in.
He looked like he slowed a bit too much before he come in. He was slow on the straight between 5 and 6. So I'm not sure whether there's something wrong with this car, so we'll follow that for you. Holdsworth in. And a critical stop. They were very competitive last year, Tim Slade especially.
Yeah, Scafie, it was well spotted. I'm just going to fire down and see what's going on, because I can tell you the team absolutely didn't prepare for him to come in. That was unexpected. Now, just having a look, they're putting tyres and they're looking closely at the front left. Well, it's that typical scenario of the boys looking around under the car. So it may be that old one, there's a wobble or something wrong with the car. Anyway, we'll try and get to the bottom of it and get back to you.
Larko, while you were talking, we could see that they were checking bleed nipples on brake calipers, so there might even be just something simple going on there. So they must have a brake pedal height problem.
That's exactly right, Neil. It looked like they were just tightening the brake nipples on those rear calipers, Larko, and obviously that just gets a long pedal, a little bit of aeration of the brake fluid. I'm sure that's what's happened at the end of that, and obviously now you can't sit around and bleed the brakes, so you just got to fix it and get back out there.
Let's have a bit of a look at the field for you. Lowndes, Winterbottom, Coulthard, Ingle, Van Gisbergen, Whincup, Fiore. There's Dean, there's Tim, he's 8th, Stevie Johnson 9th, Will Davison 10th. Jonathan Webb, Jason Bright, Taz Douglas 13, Todd Kelly 14, Ryan Le 15, Patrizzi 16, James Courtney 17. Getting out of phase here. But there's a lot going on in that mid-pack, that's for sure. There's Jacques Villeneuve. Can't spit it out fast enough.
Now, for the strategy, Whincup is 6 seconds in front of Will Davison. So this is the bit that we've got to watch and play out as Lowndes continues to lead from Winterbottom and Coulthard. This is an exciting battle at Queensland Raceway, a real battle between Lowndes and Whincup.
And we've just had confirmation through that the problem for Lee Holdsworth was a loose caliper
Bleed nipple.
So that's just a disaster, and it's just one of those things that every now and again will bite you. It's one of the items on the checklist before a car goes out on the racetrack. So, very frustrating for those fellas.
Jamie Whincup continues to do fast lap times. The lap before last was a 10.54, the fastest lap of the race. And right now he comes up behind Van Gisbergen. Van Gisbergen is in 5th position. So this is the sort of ground that he's made, but he's got to make these tyres live. This is now tyre speed, but conservation, as Van Gisbergen puts the blinker on to say, no problem, get down the inside.
So the curious thing to keep an eye on here is really the margin between Whincup and the race leader Lowndes, and then the implications of that for the subsequent stopping and the tyre management that you just spoke about. But you don't need to be a rocket scientist with a slide ruler to work this one out. Whincup is driving the wheels off this thing at the moment. He's driving very, very hard. So came in as soon as that safety car was deployed for David Reynolds down at turn 1. Got straight onto the soft tyre. He's being urged and encouraged at the moment by Mark Dutton. Excellent driving. And he's now got Russell Ingall squarely in the gun sight into turn 1. And he's about half a second faster than anybody else on a soft tyre at the moment, Jamie Whincup. Lap 15 of 45, race number 16, V8 Supercar Championship. We're at Queensland Raceway, Ipswich this weekend. Craig Lowndes is the race leader. 1.8 seconds is the gap over Mark Winterbottom from Fabian Coulthard. The story here is that Whincup is the first driver in the queue with soft tyres. He's done a stop and he is 5 to 6 seconds away from the lead of the race and driving the wheels off it. Big strategy questions here as to how this will play out. You can see the green arrows show you who's moved and who hasn't. He's about to have a big shot at Russell Ingall, and I'd say it's almost going to happen right now before he even gets down to turn 1.
And the strategy, the play out, is about to commence because the window that Mark Larkham referred to earlier about lap 17 is the time that they can come in now, get the hard tyres off and the soft tyres on and make it home. So clearly Whincup is going to stop again because you can't get home on fuel, but at some point he's going to put another set of soft tyres on and he'll have to sprint. So the reason that he's going so hard is he's just sprinting. He's just going as fast as he can possibly go. Lowndes is still doing great at lap speed. He did a 10.84. He's on the fastest first sector on the lap prior to what might happen.
Which is very unusual because you normally don't get an extra bite out of the tyres this late in their life. Here we go up the inside, turn 4. That's awkward. The gap was there. Jamie thought about it, but he changed the brake pressure just to make sure that he didn't make contact at 4. He'll now be trying to get the cleanest exit possible to have a look up here at the inside of the last corner. Little safety tap for Russell on the brake pedal to make sure that the pads are up firm and right up against the disc face, so he's got a firm brake pedal. Actually not proving to be as easy as Jamie might have thought. He just dropped it off the edge there too at the last corner. Got to be a bit careful there. Now here's Lee Holdsworth. As we went to the break, we were speculating on what the drama was with that car. We've heard from the team it was a loose bleed nipple on a brake caliper. That's a very big frustration for those guys. It's a checklist item before the car's sorted and sent prior to the start of the race. And they'll be angry that something as simple as that has cost them so dearly in their home track where Lee would be expected to do very well.
No doubt, Neil. And this is one of the wildest spots for that sort of thing, because if you think of a long brake pedal at turn 3 there, or down at turn 6 as this battle commences on alongside. He went out of shot. I didn't know whether he got right alongside or not, but Ingall's still got the line. And he's doing the crisscross and he fires back down the inside. So this is soft tyre versus hard tyre, and he only just made it. He had to give it a gear, and Ingall's back down the inside. He's not going to quit. He's a great racer. He's very, very hard racer. He's always been like that. And Whincup makes one more spot on the soft tyre. He's done 14 laps.
Good job by Jamie then, because there was not another millimetre left under brakes into turn 4. And you could see that Russell, that where that started was turn 3. Russell had a bit of an awkward moment right in the middle and towards the exit of turn 3. It slowed his corner exit speed slightly. And then Jamie got it done down at 4. I like the fight back, though, between 4 and 5 from Rusty. Good job. So that's now 4th place for Jamie.
And he could have held there, Neil. I mean, he could have held there and there would have been contact, wouldn't there? I mean, we've seen so much of this over the years. You and I have commented many times. You can see the brakes light up. He gets down the inside. He runs wide. Ingle does the crisscross. And what Neil and I were just talking about was if Ingle stays there, which he absolutely could have, there was going to be contact and you'd fire Jamie Whincup off the road.
So he's 4th now and is 6.2 seconds off the lead of the race. And next in Jamie's gun sights is the margin that we're checking there to Fabian Coulthard. Car 55 left rear fluidly. And the race director, Tim Shegan, look at that.
It's been through a war.
Terrible. So David Reynolds' car under scrutiny from race control at the moment. So Rick Kelly, Steve Owen, they're all beating up on each other at the moment. And James doesn't need any more beating up because there's not much left to thrash on that car at the moment.
It's not a straight panel on it. Look at it. I don't remember the front being like that when he came in to fix the door.
No, but maybe we were that focused on the door skid. So Lowndes has got a 2.3 second margin. He's actually easing it now over Mark Winterbottom. He's just starting to skate away slightly. His sector splits are good. In the first sector on this lap, he's eased away another 0.3 of a second over Mark Winterbottom. Dean Fiore and James Moffat in the pit lane, by the way.
And the radios are lighting up. They're all going, we're real close, we're real close, we're real close. So this stop is about to unfold and there will be chaos in pit lane in the next 2 or 3 laps.
And the reason it's lighting up is they're going to come in, grab their fuel, get their fuel to the end now. Here's the race leader. 2.56 seconds is the gap now.
There he is.
This is the critical area that Mark Larkin pointed out to us before. And it's not when you're the lone ranger up there, it's when you're underneath someone else that you've got to be careful. Thanks for the update, Larko. Left rear tyre is the one that works hard here. And I tell you, Craig Lowndes was working hard then to get out in front of Mark Winterbottom. That's a genuine gain. So Orcon Ford Performance Racing have made ground on Lowndes there. Don't know what the problem was with the stop. Because remember, Craig had actually stretched the margin before he came into pit lane ever so slightly. So just lost a bit of critical ground there.
It was 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, 2.56, I think I remember calling.
Yep, and at the moment, it's 0.67 of a second. So 2 seconds in that stop. And look at the field now. Remember that they can get home from here, so that's why Whincup went so fast, and he's back now pretty much on the same strategy as Lowndes, but he won't have to stop for as long for fuel, given that this is the strategy that they've got from lap 2.
Yeah,
so
he's a couple of litres better off, isn't he?
Yep, so Fabian Coulthard in behind him. He was doing a good job behind Mark Winterbottom, so there's a lot of this strategy that we've been speaking about that's about to play out. When these cars go back out, we'll be able to read who's in what position for you.
So he burned a bit of fuel in the first couple of laps, and there's the formation and the reconnaissance laps, so he might be 6 or 7 litres perhaps better off for his trouble. He's come back out there in front of Fabian, and there's the margin. There's Lowndes, there's Winterbottom, there's Whincup. So fantastic recovery. Smart play by the team to get him on that soft tyre, get him mobile, energise him, blast him up through the field. There's David, who, remember, is out of sequence. Reynolds is out of sequence with these guys as a result of what happened down at turn 1 at the start of the race.
So this is still going to be a really good battle between Engel and Van Gisbergen. Fabian's just up the road a little bit. He was doing a good job before the stops behind Winterbottom. So they're on the same strategy. And now, with the whole field pretty much on the soft tyre, there's fuel coming out of the back of Engel's car just then. Croppo, I reckon that filler on the left-hand rear was just seeping some fuel as he got through turn 3. It's an important stop also for Davison. We saw him on the same strategy as Jamie Whincup. He didn't have the lap speed. He was almost 6 seconds behind Whincup. So when he comes back out, he won't be in the sort of position, and this is going to be close. Oh, he had to come in. So the crossover of Rick Kelly trying to get across into the service lane and Davison into the fast lane, almost contact there. There you go. There's Whincup. There's Coulthard. There's Ingle, Dave Reynolds, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Will Davison. So there are 7 cars from Jason Bright through to Wall who haven't stopped. Bright, Douglas, Kelly, Patrizzi, Courtney, Owen, and Wall, who are out of position at the moment, effectively leading, but when they do make their stop, Craig Lowndes will be in the lead from Winterbottom, Whincup, Coulthard, and Ingle.
It's another livery changing in this weekend for Villeneuve and the Pepsi Max car. Here we are on board now. That little glimpse that you had there is one of the other things that you've got to deal with here at Queensland Raceway, and that's the sun that Jacques getting a big eyeful at the moment. It's very apparent at turn 2, and it's a big issue, as you can see, in the braking area at turn 3, and you have the same problem up at turn 6 in the latter afternoon. It's a real drama, especially at turn 2.
He'll be learning that now, won't he?
Yeah.
I wish someone told me that. I wish Murph called me and told me that. Our best wishes go to Greg Murphy, who's recovering from that back operation. Be good to have Murph back. He's sitting so close to the wheel, isn't he? He's only a little bloke. He's sitting very close to the wheel.
So Bright's the leader at the moment. Taz Douglas, Michael Patrizzi.
Look at this.
The replay of this awkward join, Will Davison. That was so close to being a drama with Rick Kelly. Got away with it in the end, just. Shane Van Gisbergen, 150th V8 Supercar race start today. Congratulations to the young Kiwi. He's down in 12th at the moment, but we still don't have a fully sorted field.
Dave Reynolds nicely gets out of the throttle and lets Will Davison down the inside at turn 4 to not hinder Will's progress. Clearly a big championship battle still continuing with the FPR guys versus Whincup and Lowndes.
Jason Bright, Michael Patrizzi, David Wall, they've all now pitted. That leaves Taz Douglas, Steve Owen at the top of the chart at the moment. And then not far after that, we see Craig Lowndes in position 3. And he'll pop out in the lead after these guys have made their stop. Another break here at Queensland Raceway. It's a 5-second margin in favour of Taz Douglas, but Lowndes is the man basically in control.
On board now with Dave Reynolds. And there's a report about something coming from the rear of car 19 that the category technical manager and other V8 Supercar personnel will be looking at.
Yes, that's Jonathan Webb. So a couple of cars have had some issues there with fluid leaks, and race control's taking note of that. So Van Gisbergen. So here's Will Davison having a big lunge at the back of Shane Van Gisbergen. Steve Owens now come in. That leaves just Taz Douglas at the top of the chart in the iSelect car. Now, these guys are battling for 7th and 8th at the moment. Effectively 6th and 7th, and just in the background there is David Reynolds. So Todd Kelly and Tony D'Alberto, they're 14th and 15th at the moment. The suggestion is it might actually even be oil, not water or fuel, from Jonathan Webb's car. One or two of the radio reports that I'm hearing is that it could well be oil.
Michael Caruso has done the fastest lap of the race now with a 10.25. And good pass. Will Davison in the crisscross, and this is similar to what we saw.
It's what Ingle wanted to do, but it didn't quite come off before with Jamie There's that fracture in the screen on Will's car. He's going to have another lunge down the inside at turn 6. Back at Queensland Raceway, Taz Douglas and the Isolette car has come into the pit lane. That leaves Craig Lowndes in control, but we've got a great little battle going on here at the moment between Will Davison and Shane Van Gisbergen. They've just been trading positions, gone backwards and forwards on that one a couple of times, and now Will is clear. He's in 6th position. We're on board here with David Reynolds, who was tangled up in that drama at the start of the race. So he's out of sequence a bit at the So Lowndes has got a 1.6 second margin over Mark Winterbottom. And he's got pace on his side. His sector split just a moment ago in Sector 1 was the best that we've seen in the race. He's on the soft tyre. So just for clarity here, the vast majority of the field, all but 2 cars, 26 of the 28, are on the soft tyre. They're fueled, they're coming home. Here's this little exchange that I was enthusiastic about between Will Davison and Shane Van Gisbergen. They kind of argued the point between turns 4 and 5, swapped it back around again, and now Will's got the job done in the final corner at turn 6. Here it is again from another angle. Pretty much textbook down the inside. Got it done, left him some space, Shane Van Gisbergen, and away they went. Sydney Motorsport Park is on the Michael Patrizzi car there, and we'll be there next in the V8 Supercar calendar. That's our next event, event number 9, and looking forward to our return to that facility in Western Sydney. So Jason Bright here. I thought Jason would have been stronger this weekend, but we've talked about this before. This racetrack, the good days are great and the average days are just so punishing here. And if you don't quite get the car right at this racetrack, it really burns and hurts. And whatever you've got, it just gets worse. It gets amplified at this racetrack. So if you've got a car, it's understeering or it's oversteering, either the front or the rear of the car isn't behaving. We've got a problem here with Michael's car. I saw him pull out of the train on the run to turn 4. All of a sudden, it's just not travelling correctly. Nunes, can you add?
Cromwell, just about Jason Bright, Team BOC car. When it was in the lane earlier on, he had a major delay, about 5 or 6 seconds. He got entangled with David Wall, of course, in the sister car in the pit bay next door. So that's where he's cost himself a bit of time.
Thanks, Nunes. That's obviously unfortunate for Jason, especially when you see his teammate, Fabian Coulthard, running in 4th position and showing really good tyre conservation at the moment. He was right behind Winterbottom before all those stops. Whincup, clearly on a different strategy, has jumped in to 3rd spot. But Coulthard's still very strong with Engel chasing him, and Will Davison now making some ground on Russell Engel. Yeah, Jeremy Moore and Craig Lowndes are very familiar with this circuit, and Craig does drive the car with minimal wheel spin, and there's some weird leak under the left-hand rear. That was bad on the way into turn 4 then. Quite a strange mist from the back of Craig's car. But they are very good at it. They were very good here last year on the soft tyre. They tend to drive the car on the front tyre, meaning they tend to keep the mid-corner speed up and keep the car flowing without exciting the rear tyre. And we know the left-hand rear cops are hammering at this circuit with the number of right-hand corners. And this is the spot. Out of turn 1, out of turn 2, really damaged that left-hand rear. This guy was very competitive last year, Neil. Tim Slade, disappointing for him to be so far down the field. He's down in 10th position, having a great battle with Fiore, but he really took it to Lowndes last year.
And it looked as though he may well have been able to win his first V8 supercar race. He's got a little bit of damage on the left rear corner of the Lucky 7 car, so he might have suffered at the beginning of the race with all the push and shove that goes on. Gee, there's some rubbish getting chucked up on the racetrack there at the moment. That slows things down. So Lowndes has got a 2-second margin now. It just looks as though he's got Mark Winterbottom covered ever so slightly. It's just enough. It's a 10th here and a 10th there. Oh, awkward little moment, that one. Into the back of Dean Fiore. That's a hello and welcome, just to let him know that he's there. So these guys battling for 9th and 10th. Good performance from Dean. Both these guys, ironically, knows to take... Oh,
that was deep.
Was it ever? Did you see the back of it uncouple? See, when he stomped on the brake pedal and it just lit up the back of the car, but he got down there. I was about to say both these guys are sharing their 50th V8 supercar event this weekend.
Guys, Russell Ingall in P5. A little story I picked up earlier on in the week is that there was a Super Cheap Auto appearance that Russell did, and a certain young fan, I won't mention names in Queensland, has said, if you finish on the podium, I'm going to propose to my fiancée. I reckon we might have a viewer who's a little nervous in Queensland right about at the moment. He's not that far away.
He's not, and the last time he was on the podium, Noons, was here back in 2009. And if you look through Russell's performances at Queensland Raceway over the years, and he's one of 3 drivers that's done every single race here. Craig Lowndes, Garth Tander are the others. David Reynolds in the lane meantime. That when you look on average at the way Russell's performed here, he just clicks with the place. He's been with a variety of teams, different cars. He's always generally had a pretty happy run here.
And if you watch his technique, he drives the car very smoothly at this place. Look, the steering technique's nice. Flow, keeps the momentum up, doesn't get too much at the stop-start, hurt the tyre. We're going to stay with Russell Ingall and have a listen to the throttle modulation at these spots, especially turn 6. Concentrate on the throttle modulation there out of turn 3. The same thing applies. Very similar style of corner to turn 6. And look at the rate in which he turns the wheel. Just have a look here at turn 4. It's very slow and methodical. He brakes the car, leaves his foot on the brake, loads the loaded front wheel and keeps the momentum up. And that is a very important technique. His technique for this sort of circuit is very good. Have a look at the brake application here. Bang! So he stops the car very well and then he trails the brake into the corner. Watch his hands. No oversteer. Very nicely done.
The key word there is straight. He's driving the car really straight. He's not sliding and he's not punishing either end of the car. This is Tander back in the lane. What a difficult day for him. And not exciting the car, nor does he correct it much. He pretty much takes one set. He turns the wheel in, Russell Ingall, finds his spot, hits his mark, drives out the other side. The less you excite the steering wheel around here, the better off you are with tyre wear. Tyre preservation, left rear tyre here, big deal. Actually just had a look with Oscar Fiore, not our engineer, at some tyre degradation numbers. And the degradation, the tapering of the lap speed on the soft tyre isn't that bad. I think it's probably a little better than we might have thought. Craig Lowndes is our race leader. 2.2 seconds is the margin.
On board now with Whincup. We've had a really good look at Russell Ingall's technique. Whincup has been the benchmark operator in this country for the last few years in terms of keeping the tyre life and keeping the flow of the car up. And you can even see there on the bumps, he just keeps the momentum up. He's very accurate. He makes the apex. He doesn't get straight onto the throttle pedal. He just loads the throttle nicely, keeps that momentum, doesn't make big body changes to the car, doesn't make big changes to the steering wheel. Had a little adjust there of the anti-roll bar on the rear. And that will be a consequence of what the balance of the car was like on the way out of turn 2. So he might be just softening that rear sway bar to reduce some rear oversteer or reduce some load on that left-hand rear tyre. And now we're on board with Mark Winterbottom, who's also doing a really nice job in second position. Just caught the curb a little bit hard there at turn 5. And as they brake now for 6, just see there that they let the car run into the corner. The whole art of making the tyre live is to keep the momentum up and not start the car so much, and to make those exits as straight as possible. This guy's been very good this year. He's very, very fast. We've seen his qualifying performances. And anything that FPR can do based on their performance here last year, which was nowhere near good enough, even from their own standards, this now is a much improved FPR Falcon year on year. Winterbottom in 2nd and Will Davison in 6th position.
Shadows are beginning to lengthen at Queensland Raceway. Lap 35 of 45. And we're watching Mark Winterbottom at the moment. He's in 2nd position. He's 2.5 seconds behind Craig Lowndes. We're on board with Mark into the final corner. That is Craig. We saw a glimpse of the Vodafone colours off in the distance. Also, before I go on with that, let's go down to Noons.
And we've got it lit up in the commentary box, Crumpo, haven't we? So we do it each weekend?
Well, we're 2 of 75,000 people who've downloaded it so far and counting, which is great. So Fabian, so far this year, Scafey, he's had a couple of 4th placings and he's currently 4th, so it's equal best for him in terms of season performance. And there's been a couple of times this year where we've dared to dream that he may end up on the podium in the Lockwood car, which would be a great result for these fellas. We were recently down at the Brad Jones workshop for V8 Extra and had a look at the facility down there. Mark Larkham had never been there, even though those two had driven together in the years gone by. I was mightily impressed with the facility. Slowly but surely, it's the little team that roared. They're just doing a very, very solid job. And the other guy behind him, Russell Ingall, is on for a season best result here as well at the moment. And this is going to be a fascinating little contest, an arm wrestle between Russell and Will Davison. And I don't reckon it's going to be an easy job to prize Russell out of that spot at the moment. Good luck with that, Will.
Exactly. Russell Ingall has been over the years one of the hardest guys to pass in the field. If he's serious about staying in that position, he has a lot of experience. And you can see those lap times there. Russell's responded the last couple of laps to be nothing in it between those two cars. He knows that looking in the mirror that this Falcon is coming. Yeah, you can see the better guys straight away there, Larko. You saw Craig Lowndes and Mark Winterbottom, especially Winterbottom, was very straight on the exit there, and that is the art of looking after the rear tyre for sure.
That was Jonathan Webb we were looking at in the garage car 19, the Sargent security entry, unfortunately up on jacks there for Jono. Been one of the real promising performers of this championship season, and he'll be filthy with the fact that things haven't worked out at his home test track. That squatting to the rear and the even distribution of load across the rear tyres is one of the keys to performance at Queensland Raceway. guy performing very well at the moment is Craig Lowndes. Got a 2.9 second lead. In fact, he's just stretched to a whisker over 3 seconds.
Neil just checked in at Techno Autosport with team manager Bruce Jenkins. They think they've got a broken header in the Jonathan Webb Commodore.
Wow. And one of the things that happens around here is that shock that Mark and I spoke about before that goes through the car when you drop it off the curb at turn 2, when you whack the curb here on the inside at turn 5. It sends such a shock through the entire chassis, you break stuff.
Yep.
And equally, when you drop off the curbing on the exit at turn 5, you can break stuff. So you actually do see one or two. Again, it's this thing where the circuit's deceiving. There's a simplicity about the visuals of the place, but it's actually a racetrack that on occasion generates a few did not finish results, actually punishes a little bit of gear.
It certainly does.
And you think by comparison to the venue for the Armour All Gold Coast 600 where we're going in October, it's curbs and all the high-speed chicanes, all that, you would expect to knock the cars around more at a venue like that. But very often you actually you take them away from here pretty second-hand.
Yeah. And this is a great battle with Will Davison, who's done a fantastic job this season to be in contention for the championship. Russell Ingall, by his own standards, would be very unhappy with how the first part of the season has gone. And today he's qualifying best and his best race of the year, and especially when you consider where the other HRT cars, all in the big family, they're out of contention. They're nowhere at the moment. Ingall is doing a really good job in 5th position.
So his previous best result was in Hamilton, New Zealand. So Russell had a 10th, and his previous best qualifying was Darwin, 14th. So anyway you cut it, he's looking good. Race director Tim Schenken's also saying in the background at the moment he wants his staff to look at what looks like a loose door on, I think, Todd Kelly's car, the Jack Daniels racing car. See the rubber debris, big chunks of marbles flying off Taz Douglas's I-Select Holden Commodore there through turn 2. It actually isn't coming off the tyre. It's coming from the inner guards, the mud guards. Look at the brakes. Villeneuve down the inside. It's lit up the brakes on all those cars down there, getting up somewhere between 900 degrees C. On board here with David Reynolds down to turn 4.
And Dave will be just watching. He'll be thinking, these boys are playing for keeps, and they are, as they have a little bump on the way into turn 4. And Taz Douglas, this is a good thing for your resume, Crompo. I've had a race with a Formula World champion and Indy 500 winner.
And Jacques going to have a run down the inside here.
Oh, no, he's giving him a hit. It's ugly. Oh.
Couldn't stop it, locked the rears. It was Morse code all the way down the side into the final corner, and he rattled on Taz's door and eventually got it sorted. There's our race leader. He's out to lunch. He's just gone. 2.9 seconds is the margin at the moment. There's Villeneuve, and that's a look of frustration. What Jacques will be struggling with these cars at the moment is exactly what you just saw. This, how far do I push and what can I get away with under brakes? Well, we just saw what happens when you're a little bit too greedy. Here's the replay from outside. Oh, and actually it all went wrong with the contact, and then that's what messed up the braking.
Grabbed first slot to try to turn it right back around. And lucky he didn't back into Taz Douglas then. It looked like this is where it started. Looked like they were going to hit again. It started in the braking area, locked the wheel. He can't drive, he can't steer it then, so they bump. Pushes Taz Douglas wide. Taz maintains control of the car and turns back the other way. And there goes Taz.
Oops. Yeah, so that was unfortunate. But trust me, folks, it's unbelievably difficult to try and work out what you can and can't do under brakes in these cars. And that's the real challenge. Most of the rest of it, you know, as a professional racing driver with his level of experience, not terribly difficult to unravel the puzzle. The braking on this particular tyre, the certain amount of aero that we have and the way the brakes behave is really tricky. Thanks, Larko. Campbell Little in the Ford Performance Racing bunker. And, you know, I think the way to best interpret their performance here this weekend is to reference it to 2011. So if they can manage the best outcome here against their major opponent's home test track and come away with a 2nd and a 6th, then it's not a bad outcome, because this time last year they were really scratching, and it's not done yet, as Larko pointed out. You know, back tomorrow, can have another crack at it. So they've had a massive transformation in understanding the soft tyre and understanding this racetrack. Mind you, yesterday they didn't have a great day, and I spoke to Mark Winterbottom this morning about it, and I said, was it tyres? He goes, I hope so, because they threw a lot of things at it yesterday. They did a big test at Winton just recently, trying to tick off issues related to Queensland Raceway. But you go into these race meetings and sometimes you can all the bravado in the world. And privately, you think, I hope this is going to be okay.
No doubt. You think over 45 laps, you're only talking about 2.5 seconds. It's not incrementally a lot. Have a look at the way Lowndes' steering technique was. You saw a great shot of it. That's right off at turn 6. Might have been some drama with somebody else to be able to end up in that sand trap. But the way that Lowndes is turning the wheel, and we saw a really great shot. Here we go. This is Todd Kelly. And turns in and bang.
And that'll result in a penalty for Todd for sure.
Yeah.
So for whacking the back of it, for some reason, Todd just couldn't pull his thing up. It sent Jason off.
And the shot that I was referring to before, Neil, was actually out of not turn 1 but turn 2. So not this corner, but at the next corner. As he exits, you watch where his hand sits. Watch where his hand is now. And as he comes out of turn 2, we get a great shot of where his hand is. Watch the composure. Does not move. Absolutely, car takes a set. Nice throttle modulation. And the flow that we saw here last year was just extraordinary. He did a great job with these tyres last year. He has done exactly the same thing today. And look at that hand position. It's nice and slow. It makes the load nice and flowing in terms of the car's mid-corner speed, and a very, very good job by Craig Lowndes. And that technique has been used to yield a great result for him today.
And he's just eased out of it ever so slightly. It's about 2.6 seconds now, Lowndes to Winterbottom. So 1st and 3rd, it seems, for Team Vodafone. We're not quite there yet, but it's not a bad performance, is it, from Craig Lowndes? And that point that Mark makes about his hands, they're absolutely stroking this car around so gently. One more lap.
Jeremy, bring it home nice and smooth. I reckon that's been the ethos, and he's done a great job of it.
Well, he does require a little bit of counselling from time to time.
He's saying there can be a little bit of lunacy on occasion.
Now, Lee Holdsworth just actually set a new lap record while we were making reference to Craig here. It's down in 26th as a result of that problem with the brake bleed nipple on the caliper of that car. So he's come back out. He's got those tyres on late in the race, gone out and just smashed the lap record. It's now at 1 minute 10.12 for Lee Holdsworth.
And Ingle has importantly hung on at the moment to 5th position. Will Davison is still half a second behind him, so it's been a great drive by Ingle, great drive by Fabian Coulthard. Different strategy for Whincup. Mark Winterbottom in 2nd position. Big FPR improvement. We've said it all weekend so far. And this man has been the guy who's shown them the way.
One corner remaining now for Craig Lowndes. Into turn number 6 for the last time today. 200 Ks to face tomorrow. 2nd gear, bags it up, slides it onto the straight in front of the crowd and his team. He's going to get home by just over 2 seconds. Well done, Craig Lowndes, winner race number 16. Mark Winterbottom in position 2. Looked like there was a bit of aggravation at the final corner. Whincup for P3. Roland Dane and the boys from Team Vodafone celebrating. There's our man who's runner-up today, Mark Winterbottom. That's a terrific recovery for Whincup when you consider what happened off the start. Bogged it down, I think virtually stalled it. Fired it back up, got underway, got swamped, took the opportunity on the David Reynolds safety car to come in, get soft tyres on, recover and get on the podium at the end of the day. But there's no stopping this guy. And how's the numbers? 2 wins now in 2012. 10 career wins at Queensland Raceway. Anybody want to buy some rear tyres? And he's 4th in a row at Queensland Raceway for Craig Lowndes. So he's running hot here.
That's the lunacy you were referring to, wasn't it?
Yes. Now, while we're speaking Tim Schenken, the race director, has just advised there'll be a 25-point lot.
He almost spun. Whoa.
Easy. Todd Kelly's going to have 25 points removed from his tally today because of what happened with Jason Bright at turn 6. If Lowndes doesn't throw it off the road, I can try and spit that out. Where's Larko with that temperature gun after he's done that? It's about 290 degrees. So well done, Craig Lowndes. Nice job. You talked earlier about him energising his championship. That's what you do when you go and get a fistful of points, 150 of them for the cause. Here we go. Actually, it was 1.7 seconds in the final analysis. Lowndes to Winterbottom. 1 and 3 Team Vodafone. Fabian Coulthard, an equal season best in 4th. Russell Ingall, season best in 5th. Dean Fiore, season best for him in 11th. Jason Bright will be pretty frustrated and angry about ending up 20th. And then Jonathan Webb in the Sergeant Security car was in the pit lane. Seriously. With the problem with the headers on that car. But it's all about this man right now, Craig Lowndes.
He's never been good at parking, has he? Jeremy Moore there with Craig. An absolute jubilation for those guys who, again, have done a fantastic job to get the best of the tyre life from the Vodafone Commodore.
So it now needs new rear tyres and a front bumper. It was a nice drive, wasn't it? He looked really strong.